How are we going, everybody? This is the day after we prepared this bed with our compost, planting mix and all that stuff. And to my surprise, I've come outside here. First I thought the chickens got in here. I thought, no, these holes are too big. Then I thought rabbits. I thought, no, rabbits have a very uniform way of digging. They burrow very narrowly and they do a little stockpile behind. This isn't a rabbit hole. Had a close look. Bit of a forensic look around, and what I see here, footprint, 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 and these aren't big dinosaur footprints like Vader's footprints or Ikara's, they're Leia's footprints. So she's practicing what we do. She saw us digging here yesterday cleaning up, and she can smell the manures and the superfood mixed into it, and she thought, you know what, I'm going to dig down and see if I can help them along too and eat some of that goodness out of the ground, and she made a bloody mess. Have a look at that. She's, I don't know, she's dug out the spuds. look how dry it is underneath. This is a good example of showing you. We hydrated the top layer, so we've got about, 30 or 40 4 centimetres, 3 or 4 centimetres or 30 or 40 mil of compost and planting and cocoa. And just chuck that back in there, the potato. And the soil underneath, well, it's dirt. And that's what you call soil when it's dead. And some of you messaged me, well, asked the question, what caused it to become dead? Well, the lack of water, the lack of feeding, so you've got to constantly top it up. I know microbes help break down things, but if there's no water there are no microbes. So mainly no water will kill the soil or the life in the soil, and it becomes dirt. So make sure you hydrate all these potatoes and go, look at all this dug out, look at all this in the bed here. I'm going to do that by hand afterwards. Just going to give it another good soaking. A good soaking would mean I have to be here for at least half an hour to an hour doing this. But what we're going to do with this bed, a couple of things, folks. Today I'm going to show you how to prepare your mulch to spread over the top. And I've got this prepared here in this wheelbarrow. But what we're also going to do, and that's not going to be today, we're going to install an irrigation system on this bed here as well. So that's going to go down and the mulch is going to go over the top. But for today, because I know some of you may not want to put irrigation down or the beds are too small to do that and you're happy to water by hand, we'll talk about how you get your mulch activated. So by adding a biostimulant and soaking it. It's quite a simple process. And that's just putting it in a wheelbarrow, the mulch that is, and then filling it up with water so it can soak through into the mulch, but adding a biostimulant, and I use our EcoButch and Liquid Gold combined. What that does, it activates the microbes to start the composting process, the breaking down, the feeding process, and that's ideal because you want to populate that in the soil. You want to activate the life in the soil, and by laying mulch straight over the top dry, it's just going to make it a lot longer, take a lot longer for it to happen. By inoculating it, by adding the biostimulant, you're basically entertaining any living organism in the soil, in this case, which is our compost and planting mix, telling it that, hey guys, there's a party in town, there's lots of great nutrients coming through here, stuff that they can absorb, not chemical, natural, and they'll start to populate, and the plants will take to that when you plant into the ground. And I'm going to plant afterwards, and instantly you'll see good growth developing, good root systems coming through, and all the above, healthier plants. So we've watered this and it hasn't soaked all the way through yet. I'll guarantee you that this is going to need a continuous amount of soaking, but because the bed is so dehydrated underneath, that is, the soil, not the stuff on top, the stuff underneath, that's why I'm going to put a drip system down. And you'll see that in tomorrow's episode. So I can soak right through down below. But that doesn't mean and dismiss the fact that you still need to use a watering wand over the top. You can't allow the mulch to dry out. And definitely do not put too much mulch on top. Come over here and have a look at this. Now this is our bean straw. Pea straw is the next best thing. If you can't get bean straw, I've filled this up halfway up with water, and I've added some EcoButch and Liquid Gold in here, and just been mixing it through with the mulch and hydrating it so it's getting right in there. So you can see the colour of the water there. See that there? Now that's the liquid feed. That's in here. So we're stimulating this. We're adding the biostimulant and we're activating it Now we're going to add this on top, and I'll just show you how much you need to put on. I'm not going to do the entire bed, and this can sit in the barrow for a couple of days. There's no harm in leaving it in there for longer periods. The longer the better, in fact. The longer you leave it, the more it gets activated, and the less likelihood it's going to dry out. But more importantly is when you lay it on top, let me just get a handful here. And I've seen beds, and I've done it in the past too, this thick. See that? That's about 3 or 4 inches. That's about 70 mil, 100 mil thick. That's too thick, way too thick for your garden bed. So that sort of grab that I did there of handful literally has to be like this. About 2 centimeters. Really, that's all you need, maybe 3 centimeters. I mean, on average, we're not trying to be perfectly measured in the depth or thickness. That's it, just a light blanket. And make sure you fill all the gaps. Don't have any little openings like that and allowing the sun to penetrate, because what happens with the sun, you've got the life in the soil and the bacteria and the composting process happening underneath the mulch, and as soon as the sun hits it and there's no leaf coverage, no plant coverage, it'll dry it out, it'll heat it up and kill off the life in the soil. So you don't want that happening. So just get yourself a handful, like I'm doing here. So this handful here, let's have a look how far it's going to spread. So if I drop it there, that's about 5 inches or 120 mil. That's about 3 or 4 inches. That's still a little bit too thick. So that handful should give you at least 40, 50 centimeters coverage square. Let's say 40 to be safe. That's it there. And that's what we're going to do with the entire bed, but not now, because we're going to irrigate it. And for those who want to see how I irrigate my beds, it's been a question asked many a times, and something that I've been discussing with the family many a times, and we're all sick and tired of holding a hose, but we still need to do it, but not as much, because we're going to irrigate from below and above. Drip system's going to come through here. We're going to put a framework into here, so we're going to run it about 30 or 40 centimeters apart, rows, parallel rows all the way through, and peg it down and set it underneath the mulch, not on top. Why I say not on top is because the pot will heat up in the hot sun. Have you ever picked up your garden hose, turned the tap on while it's been lying in the sun, even if it's only 22 degrees, baking in the sun, run the water through it, it comes out steaming hot. And you don't want to have a drip system that's not flushing through, dripping hot water into your garden bed. You want to keep the pipe away from the direct sunlight so it's cool, and that's what the blanket is of mulch, that's its purpose. So it stays cool, so when you turn it on, you're hydrating underneath, and leave it on for a few minutes, if not hours, on large beds, especially beds like this that are hydrophobic underneath, not on top. That'll soak through and eventually activate the dirt to turn it into soil, and then the mulch will go on top. And for those who want to mulch, well folks, just go right ahead and mulch it. Make sure you inoculate it with a biostimulant. My favourite, EcoButch and Liquid Gold. Light layer over the top, and always keep it hydrated. Don't allow the mulch to dry out. If you're using a fine straw, I tend to find that has nitrogen drawdown. So if you're using a fine straw on top as a mulch, it can actually pull out the nitrogen from the soil rather than releasing and allowing it to compost properly. So pea straw, bean straw are 2 great mulches as a top covering. And that's it. So we've got to get this done before Leia comes back in again. Check out our website, vasilisgarden.com. We've got some great specials running on there too, and click and collect available for you as well. From me, Vasily, Maresi.